so it's reached 90 degrees, so it's a lot louder. Oh, it's so addictive. Hi, this is Raj from MR Sportscars. In this episode of the Diary of a Porsche Specialist, I'm going to be talking about 981 Cayman GTSs in particular, what makes them different from the lesser models, the S and the 2.7. So these cars came out 2014. This is a 2016 car, and I wanted to talk through the physical differences and take it out for a drive and talk about how it performs differently to an S model and a 2.7. Now it's a April 2016 car, so one of the last, and you can immediately tell a GTS from the lesser models by that front spoiler. So it's a lot more pronounced, it sticks out further. It's actually, I think, 4 centimeters longer, the whole car, because of that front lip on that lower part of the spoiler. It's got larger vents. Typically they're either in satin plastic or they have the gloss exterior pack like this one, so all of that is painted gloss black on this car, as well as the lower parts of the mirrors, the triangles on the just above the door mirrors. The badging is normally, obviously says Cayman GTS, but all of that is normally gloss black if it's got the gloss exterior pack. It has a different lower splitter at the rear, so it has this sort of louvered one at the bottom there, and that's painted in gloss black as well as the side vents. So that's a nice pack of things. They could also come with GTS on the sides, but some owners have taken them off subsequently, so it may not have that anymore if some owners taken it off. This car's got the 20-inch Carrera S wheels, and they're finished in gloss black with silver edge and a grey interior, satin grey interior, which is a factory finish on those. They also tend to come with the black design PDLS Plus lights, so they have black plastics there instead of the more silvery finish that's on this 991 here. That's a lot lighter. They come with a darkened glass, they're called darkened glass rear LED lights rather than the bright red ones. And they typically have the black tips on the switchable sports exhaust. Now, the GTS was really a parts bin car, so it basically brought in a lot of the options that were available on the S models and even the base model Cayman. So even that front bumper, the rear bumper, the lights, front and back, wheels, even having all of the trims and stuff painted, that could all be picked on an S or a base Cayman. But it was all bundled in the GTS, so they put all of that stuff in, plus a whole bunch of other stuff which I'll go through, including this gorgeous interior. So it has extended black leather with red stitching. In this case, you could have it in silver stitching. Half Alcantara, so you'd have Alcantara here, half Alcantara on the seats, and also on the lower part of the dashboard. Some were spec with the carbon trim, so this one's got the carbon trim across the doors, dashboard, center console, which is a really nice flourish, I think. And this car's got the illuminated door entry guards in stainless steel with the Cayman GTS. Standard ones would have still said Cayman GTS, but it wouldn't have lit up and it wouldn't have this stainless steel finish like it does there. It would just have a smaller little stainless steel with the embossed Cayman GTS in it. They came with embroidered headrest saying GTS as well. This was if someone didn't override that GTS interior with an extended black interior. I've had a Boxster GTS where it didn't have the GTS interior, and I'm sure there's Caymans out there that don't have the GTS interior because someone didn't want Alcantara on their car, they wanted it full leather. This car additionally was spec'd separately with the Alcantara steering wheel, Alcantara PDK selector, but as I said, all of this stuff could be spec'd on the other models as well. These cars were actually very good value for money. All of that extra options on that car, when you add them up, came to around, I think, £12,000, whereas the GTSs were only about £5,000 or £6,000 more. In the UK, we're only £5,000 or £6,000 more than an S equivalent S. So you actually got a lot of extra features bundled in. The other big differences are performance-wise. So they had 340 horsepower instead of 325-ish. So they had what's called the power kit fitted as standard. Cayman S's could have the power kit fitted as an option, so that gives it that extra 15 odd horsepower to bring it up to 340 horsepower. So it is slightly quicker, it does sound slightly louder. Another option they had, most of them had fitted, was sound symposer. So basically that's an extra pipe from the engine bay to the cabin to let more sound in as you press the Sport Plus, it gets louder. If you press the Sports exhaust, it gets louder. So it's a variable sound input device for the cabin from the engine bay. Obviously the Sports exhaust sounds phenomenal, and that came bundled in with the GTS, as well as Sport Chrono Package Plus. And then you had the choice of either switchable sport suspension, PASM, or what this car has got is the X73 pack. So it's, instead of sitting 10 mil lower because it has PASM, this car sits 20 mil lower than a car without PASM. And you can see that in its stance, how it sits in the arches. The wheels are quite hunkered down. Another added benefit of that, let me just grab the key, is the rear spoiler. So the rear spoiler actually goes up to a higher degree when a car is spec'd with that X73. So let me grab that. Put the spoiler up and you'll see it comes up at quite an angle. So that was basically to make it look sportier and also give it more high-speed stability. So it comes up probably about another centimetre or so, 15 mil higher than a car without the X73 pack. I mean, to me it looks a lot more aggressive when it's up than a car without that pack. Then there are some other options as well which were optional on the GTS. So some GTSs like this one have PTV, which is Porsche torque vectoring. So it has a locking rear differential. Not all GTSs have that, so check that if you're interested in one of these cars, check that that has it, because it does make a difference to how these cars perform on the road, how they put down power coming out of corners. Much more sporty, dynamic driving experience. And then obviously you have the big one, which is whether it has the PDK system, so the 7-speed semi-automatic, which can be run in full manual, full auto, or a combination of two, or if it has the 6-speed manual. I've only dealt with these with the PDK. Most were ordered with the PDK because it is such a phenomenal box, but obviously being a GTS, there'll be people who wanted to potentially track these cars and they may have preferred having that extra involvement of using a manual gearbox. So that is another big thing to consider. You could have it spec'd in either, but I believe that the preference for most people was the PDK box. So I'm now going to take the car for a drive and tell you exactly how it feels behind the wheel. I'm just leaving the premises now, and I've got one job to do other than film this video in this car today, which is put a tank of fuel in it. The chap who's bought the car is travelling a little bit of a distance in the UK to come and pick it up, and I thought it'd be nice to give him a tank of super unleaded, because he's been an absolute pleasure to deal with from start to finish. So I'm going to take this on a drive. So a lot of people do ask this question: why would I invest the extra money in this car, a 981 GTS Cayman, versus the S model? Because you've got essentially the same engine, 3.4 DFI flat 6. The big difference is that power kit and also this lovely interior. If the car that you're looking at, the GTS, was spec'd with the standard GTS interior, which is this lovely Alcantara leather with contrast stitching, in this case red, but it could also be silver. I think you could probably get it in yellow as well. This car is more than the sum of its parts because of this extra, more race tech inspired interior. Quite often they have the carbon interior trims as well. It just feels a more special place to be. The car, if it was spec'd with the X73, is an absolute game changer in how it rides over bumps. It is harder over bumps, but it's still so supple when it comes to shocks going through the chassis. It just feels more focused. and it does get up and go. That 340 horsepower does make it feel more urgent when you put the throttle down, especially in, if I put it in Sport Plus, this is my preferred choice. If you use Sport Plus, put it in manual mode, because then you get to decide exactly when to change gear. In Sport Plus, it's a little bit too much on the road if you're letting it go all the way basically to the red line before it will change gear. With it in full manual, you determine exactly when you feel comfortable changing gear, but you still get that faster gear change. You get the steering on its more sports orientated setting, and also the throttle is a lot more urgent and more sensitive to your movements. So, and PADM, so the Porsche Active drivetrain mounts, which come bundled in with Sport Chrono Package Plus, also are stiffer, so you feel the gear changes through the chassis. So that's probably the perfect combo. The sound symposer is also wide open as well, so you get more sound from the engine bay with it in Sport Plus. Steering just feels phenomenal. This was the first era with electric steering, electromechanical steering instead of hydraulic steering, but in all honesty, unless you're comparing absolute back to back, getting in one and out the other, there's no dullness even around 12 o'clock. It feels weighty. It actually varies the weight of it, as I said, depending on which mode you're in and also what speed you're traveling at. Let me just open the window so you can actually hear, hopefully, a bit of the exhaust. Once this car gets up to temperature, not everyone knows this, but the exhaust actually reaches its full ferocity, I'd say, when the coolant temperature, I think when it reaches 90 degrees. So when it's actually up to temperature, it gets louder, it cackles and spits more. See, now it's not quite as loud as it can be. But as I was saying, the Cayman GTS is more than the sum of its parts. It is a parts bin car in some essences, because you could spec an S and even a base model with pretty much all of the bits that are on this car. The PTV system, which this car has, which is the locking rear diff, the power kit, especially on the 3.4S, the X73 suspension, and also you could trick up the interior. You could have the carbon trims, Alcantara steering wheel, red instrument dials, all of that stuff was available. So there's no getting around that fact that if you find a super high spec S, then you're probably getting about 90% of the experience, but that 10% makes such a huge difference, and actually it shows in the value. So these cars are holding their value even better than the S's are holding their value, but these are holding them even more, and they're actually not far off what they were brand new, especially if they're low mileage like this one. This one's travelled 17,000 miles since 2016, so it's 7 years old, not done many miles at all, with a full Porsche main dealer history. Yeah, so it's reached 90 degrees, so it's a lot louder. Oh, it's so addictive. Just love how it sounds, love how it drives. These cars feel just as special as the 911 GTS is. And I would say the other question I get asked is that with the price of these being so high, it's not that much more to get a 981 GT4 now. So the 2015, 2016 Cayman GT4s between sort of, they're around £20,000 more than these, but really the way that I see it is that even if you wanted to use a car like this on track, if most of your driving, 80% of your driving is going to be on the road, I would get one of these, and my mechanics also say the same thing. This is much more suited to be driven on the road all year round, but still be good on the track. That 20% you might use it on track days. If you were doing it the other way round, if you were owning a car like a GT4, 80% of your driving was going to be on track days all summer, but you drive to the track, then yes, obviously get a GT4. And that's how I would sort of make your decision on owning one of these cars versus a GT4 is most of your driving going to be on the road, or is it going to be on the track? And whichever's the majority, go with which one was designed for that purpose in its priorities. So the GTS, as I said, more road focused. The GT4 is much more track focused. And that's where I'll leave this review. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment below. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe to our channel and like this video. Have a great day.